it hurts. And I'm too sexy for Milan, too sexy for Milan, New York and Japan.
Welcome back, everybody, this week to this episode of Doing It with Styles. And I feel sorry for all you people who aren't watching, because today, especially all of my dog-loving friends, I got a special guest here. And he's special in a number of ways. One is I'm lucky enough to call him my friend. I've known him for about 10 or 11 years now.
At least 10. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's true.
This is Mr. Joe Perroni. Joe is a therapist. He helps people that need a little help mentally. And he's also a physical trainer, personal trainer. So
Absolutely.
he helps people physically. And he's the author of a new book called Canine Chronicles, which I've just started reading. So I'm going to ask Joe to kind of walk us through the book here in a minute. But having just what little bit I have read, this makes you a 3-strike person, right? You got the mental with
Yes.
the coaching, all right? You got the physical, and you have the emotional.
I'm trying.
Yes.
Part of the idea of the book was that the main characters,
Right.
they're referred to as furry philosophers or canine counselors. So what I'm trying to do.
I love that. That's awesome.
So it's relatively difficult to get people to really pay attention when you're talking about human beings.
Right.
I think, right? Because we're all human. We take things very personally. But I feel that if you take the innocence of a dog and you use their perspective, people are much more apt to listen to it. And so there's a lot of ideas that I'm trying to get across. And what my ideas are is one thing, but whatever somebody else picks and chooses out of it is something else. But I think there's going to be a lot there for everybody because it's all there.
Yeah, I like the concept, and also I think we're first introduced to, I think it's Stevie Ray, right?
Yes, she's the main character.
Okay, who likes music,
Of course.
and I loved the except Cat Stevens, Def Leppard, and Stray Cats, and I thought that was just a nice touch in there.
Well, it makes sense, right?
Yeah. And it was like, okay, so that's cute. That's a nice little.
And anything with birds too.
Oh,
Kinda
okay.
That's a problem with.
Oh, no
Yeah.
birds.
No, you get
Oh,
dogs
man.
like to chase birds, right?
Yeah, I
And-
guess so.
If you're really looking close, what you'll see is the birds throughout the book, they represent transgenerational trauma. So I don't
Oh,
want to say
wow.
too much, but if you follow it, you'll see that's what that is. It's transgenerational trauma.
Now, this is your second book or your third?
My second book.
Okay, the first one, Grief to Relief.
Yes.
Right. So there is, maybe I'm wrong, but there is a little bit of a common theme here, and that is dealing with a loss, and whether it's human or pets or just people or things that are close to us.
Yes. I'm glad you picked up on that. The idea that I had is that the book, although it's through, again, a dog's eyes, it's really a meditation. It's a meditation on life, love, and loss. And if I can do it through a dog's eyes, you can see it through their innocence. And
Right.
it's a lot more palatable to the normal person. And so that was the idea. It starts off, actually, if I'm allowed to say part of the book,
Please.
is that the main character is actually 14 years old. And
Right.
as you know, that's basically the end of the lifespan.
Right.
So she's had another good day and she's by herself and she realizes that this is it. So she's going through her life and recalling all of the good things that has happened to her. And her owner is in a different part of the house, not knowing that this is the last moment.
Right.
And so she's tracking through her life. And one of the things I wanted to do here is that, of course, as you read in the beginning, she's a little bit arrogant.
Yeah.
Right? And she's got this attitude, and what she does
But
is
that's a child.
exactly right.
That
That's
is a
part
child.
of it,
Yeah.
right? And so what I'm trying to bring out is that one of the main correlations to depression and anxiety is rumination. Whereas we ruminate, we just can't stop thinking about negative things.
Right.
And so what I'm trying to show you here in a roundabout way is that she looks back over her life and she is looking at all of these great things that she was grateful for. And then also it's a meditation. And what I mean by meditation is that I don't gloss over the tough things. I don't gloss over pain.
Right.
I don't gloss over a death, because I think part of that is very beautiful, because if you don't feel pain from that, it means that you didn't care in the first place.
Right.
So I'm taking it from the perspective of a dog who says, there's greatness in the fact that this is going to be my last time here.
Yeah.
And so as she's going over that, she looks at it as, it's all good. So I try to, because humans have difficulty understanding.
Right.
that.
Well, even the bad things that happen to us can be a positive. There are lessons that we can learn from it, or even if it's only, well, I ain't doing that again,
Right.
And so I think that we should, as you say, pay more attention to those things and not try to hide them, but hey, this is what I've learned from this experience. This is what I can take away from that. So, and listen, I've had pets all my life. So,
Right.
I've lost dogs and cats and birds and you name it. And that was the first thing that attracted me to this was the story is being told from the perspective of the dog, not the owner.
Right. There are no humans
Right.
that have a name
Right.
in the book. There's a referral or a reference to a human,
Right.
but they have no names. There's
Right.
nothing about that, because it's not about that.
Yeah. So I like that. So what prompted you? Why did, what made you say, I got to sit down and write this book from this perspective? Or did you have the concept first? Here's some ideas I want to get out. Now, how do I present them so that people will understand? Or how did the whole thing come together?
It's a good question, because the answer is all of the above, right? So about 15 years ago, Stevie Ray, who is the main character, she died. She
Right.
was my first dog.
Right.
And I was thinking about what it would be like from her perspective. So I started with that.
Right.
But I started that and I wrote a couple of paragraphs 15 years ago.
Wow.
But I never put it together. I was just
Yeah.
trying to get out my feelings. And then as time went on, as being a therapist, I started hearing a lot of people, and they were saying a lot of things that I thought it's hard to help people and correct them as human to human. So I was
Right.
thinking, okay, how can I do this? I can give you an example of this, which happened not that long ago. At the gym that I train at, the manager found this dog in like the worst area of Las Vegas. I think called the Naked City.
Right. Yeah.
behind the
I know. Well,
Stratosphere.
yeah.
And this dog was everything you could think it was, right? It was beaten, it was starved, it was neglected, it was probably came from a super bad home, no love. This manager from the gym found this dog, was able to coax it to come into the car. Within 1 month, less than a month, this dog is the mascot at the gym that I'm at. He has his own, she has her own bed behind the front desk. She greets everybody that comes to this gym. She is happy. And if you're like having a tough workout and you got your head down, she'll come over to console you.
All right.
So she loves people. She loves all different kinds of people. She doesn't have any negativity. There's no type of fear in her. And she's petted by everybody. She's loved by everybody. And I'm like, well, okay, let me superimpose this with what I know as a therapist when I see people. And I'll get a person who's, say, 45 years old that says, I can't get along in my life. I don't trust people. I'm suspicious of people. I don't know how to love people because I can't let people in.
Right.
I don't know how to just even be kind to people. And I'm like, well, where do you think this came from? And not to make light of it, but a lot of it is because my father worked a lot and he wasn't home, so I don't feel loved.
Yeah.
Or, my brother got an extra ice cream cone when he was 6 years old and I didn't. And I'm not to make light of things.
Listen, I understand, man.
But as humans, we complain about so many things. And we could be 40, 50, 60 years old, and we're still worried about something that happened when we were 5. And we let it ruin our lives.
Right.
This dog was immediately able to say, this person is showing love, therefore I want love, therefore we got a good relationship.
Yeah.
And it amazes me time and time
Well,
again.
and the dog was open to it.
Absolutely.
And that's a good lesson there. You're not going to get this stuff if you're not open to it.
That's true. So the original trauma happens, let's
Right.
say when you're young, but then you end up re-traumatizing yourself by not allowing yourself to be open to a beautiful world out
Right.
there. And if you're doing that, you're literally the one. Like you're using, let's say, the devil's tools, right?
Right.
Let's say the devil's tool was that you weren't paid attention to enough when you were young. Okay, that's the devil's tool. But now you take that and now you're doing it to everybody in your life as
Yep.
well. So you're not learning anything. You're literally taking that and using it as a weapon against the world. Like in this situation, I've had people come to me and a lot of the same questions come up, right? Because we all think we're unique and we
Right.
are in certain ways, but mostly we all want to love and be loved. The questions I'll get is, how can I value myself when other people didn't value me?
Right.
Or some version of, if people leave me, then that means I'm not valuable. It's like, okay, that's a good question. But let's go back to the dog for a second. This dog wasn't valued. This dog was beaten, harmed, neglected, not taken care of. But immediately when it finds someone who is giving those things,
Right.
it can connect.
Yeah.
So the answer is, you just have to try it. You have to open yourself up to it. And if I say it as a human being about another human, it seems a little bit unempathetic, I feel. Some people
Right.
would feel that way. But if I talk about a dog, people start to go, aha, okay, now I get it.
Well, most of us have had that experience with animals. They love us unconditionally. I mean, even bad pet owners, their pets still try to make them happy.
Right.
And we're too stupid to do that.
I agree with you 100%. We live in this world and, we're,
Right.
older,
Right.
not so young,
Yeah,
right?
not
Let's
so
say it
young
that
anymore.
way.
Yeah.
Is that we've seen a time where there wasn't social media,
Right.
right? We've seen a time where if you were with somebody, you would say, well, let me manage this person because they're
Right.
in my life.
Right.
And yeah, they're probably not so good for me in this way, but in these other ways, they're a very good person.
Yeah.
And so we learn how to get along with people. In this day and age, we just unfriend people. We block people
Yeah.
that just tweak our sensibilities. And on the surface, that might sound good. But I think on the other way, it makes us that we never learn anything. We never learn how to deal with people who are different than us.
Right.
We never learn how to mesh. I use music as an example here. Like, let's say the Beatles, for example. If they were to do like this a worldwide search for the greatest drummer ever, the most talented, to put them in that band, do you think they would have gotten Ringo? No. There was thousands that are more talented. But what happens is that there's a synergy that works when people put their stuff together.
Yep.
And so John Lennon works off of Paul McCartney. John Lennon says to Paul McCartney, listen, you just kind of do silly love songs. The other guy sounds a little bit too deep, but a little bit too political. So Paul McCartney doesn't like that. George Harrison is more into the Eastern type of philosophy. But when you work it out as a unit, they will end up caring about each other, liking, loving each other, and creating.
And I always thought of Ringo as just the regular old guy.
And so many people attach themselves to that. And he did keep it light.
Yeah.
And I think they needed that.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I'm saying is that we're so quick to throw people away now because of the social media world. Number one, we're growing up in a world where we don't have to be that connected, number one.
Right.
And number two, not only that, we have a detraction of empathy. But now we just figure, if they have a different opinion, I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Right.
I only want people who like the things that I like.
See, and I would not want to live in that world.
Not me either.
It's because of our differences and our experiences. Good example, you're talking about music, okay? So my ex-wife and I, years ago when we lived in LA, we used to go salsa dancing, like 3-4 nights a week. And we went to different clubs. And one of the clubs that we went to was what you might call a gangbanger club. And there was another couple with us, a Hispanic couple, and they were teaching us to dance at the time. But anyway, so we're at this club in Montebello, and I go outside and I'm downstairs and I'm having a smoke. And this Hispanic kid comes up to me and he goes, and forgive me for this, Senor, what are you doing here? Why you like our music? And I said to him, dude, you like rock and roll? Oh, yeah. Well, then why can't I like your music?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I like that. And from that point on, we never had any trouble. Never, the music was the thing that brought all of the people together.
Right.
And that's what we were focused on. We weren't focused on our differences or, he's brown, I'm white, you're black, you're blue, you're short, you're tall. It was, we are here for the music.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, didn't mean to get sidetracked.
No, that's not sidetracked. That's right within it. There's so much you're saying. I lose track of what I want to say too. But
sorry.
No, but
I'll shut up now. It's your turn.
No, there's a ton of stuff. Like as you read through it, there's a ton of ideas about, like we would call a dog, for example, a mutt or a mongrel.
Right.
And that's supposed to be very derogatory. Well, what I want to compare that to is people. Because, obviously some people or types of people are marginalized, right? They don't have, they might have the rights. I'm not saying that they don't, but they certainly socially don't get treated as well, or they get treated differently.
Right.
Well, the idea that I kind of put in the book, not to say too much, because I would prefer people to read it and see what they, see what they want to see out of it. But I refer to that as a multicultural dog in here. In other words, and I take a lot of time to spend, okay, so this dog has its origins in Scotland.
Right.
This dog has its origins in China.
Right.
Then they meet. Now, one of the reasons why this puppy ends up in a shelter is because it's not a pure breed. And so as you can see where I'm going with this.
Right.
So what I'll say about the meditation is that people just usually say, oh, well, the dog's 8-9 weeks old. We separated from its mother. We either brought it to a shelter or we sold it, and then end of story.
Right.
Not for me. Listen, I think the universal language is music, yes, but I think the universal language is also love. And I think as that, it doesn't matter if you're a human or you're a dog or you're a cat. We all know that.
Right.
So the thought there for me is to meditate on the fact and really pay attention to that puppy who is stripped from its mother. And that's all it knows is the comfort of its mother. To take that and throw it in a shelter with a cold stone floor and all these unfamiliar faces. I want to get into the emotions of what that feels like. And hopefully somebody reading it thinks too, when was I separated from people? When was I ostracized? What does that feel like?
Even if you take that puppy and you give it to a home, it's still a traumatic experience because it's, hey, this is what I've known my entire life, right? Now you're thrusting me into this situation where I have all these people that I have to deal with that I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know what I can do, what I can't do, what's good, what's bad, any of that. So yeah, I mean, if we did that to kids when they were 7 or 8 years old, well, in fact, we do that.
We do, and that's where, so insightful, man. Thank you for having me here, by the way.
Sorry.
It's super insightful because, yes, in my line of work, I see people who come from the foster system, and it's terrible. I mean, in certain situations, that's the best we can do.
Right.
But it's still far from good. In this situation with the dog, not only are you stripping it from its mother, what you're doing is saying, okay, you need to trust this thing from a different species.
Right.
Like it's completely
like a different planet.
Yeah, completely different situation. Now to compare it
and
again,
there might be another dog or a cat or some other animal in the house as well, or anyway.
Many.
Yeah.
Right. Many. And this situation is not good. And I go over that in detail in the book. Now, if you take your average human that goes through a difficult situation, many times, again, like we've spoken about, they very much close up.
Right.
They become very irritable, angry, frustrated, very paranoid about other people who they can trust. Think about this. If your average dog did that and they were in a shelter and they acted like that without opening up their hearts, what's their future?
Yeah, they'd all be put down.
That's exactly what I'm leading to. They'd all be put down. But most don't. The ones who get put down, it's our fault because
Right.
we don't give them a home.
Exactly.
It's not because they're not
Right.
worthy to have a home.
Right.
It's because we're not worthy enough to actually give them one.
Yeah.
Right. And so then if the average person acted like that, yeah, we'd put all those people down too, right? We end up doing it. We put them in jail.
Yeah, we put them in
That's
jail.
what happens.
Yeah.
But think about the percentage. So again, it goes back to, is it possible to think differently? Is it possible to open up? Is it possible to have your heart broken, even at say 60, 65 years old, and still say, you know, but I'm still alive.
Yeah.
I'm still doing my thing. I still deserve love. And you know what? I can still give love.
Yeah.
So why don't I do this?
Yeah.
Because your days are numbered, right? Again, to meditate on it, there's a large sections in there that do deal with the reality of death. And I don't shy away from it. I sink into it more.
And you shouldn't, we shouldn't, because it's going to happen to all of us. It's a part of our lives that we are so afraid to talk about. We have a show here called Permission Mission. And basically that's what it is. It's let's normalize talking about our own mortality.
Yeah.
You know, so that when the time comes, we and our loved ones are prepared. They know what we want. They know, you know, what's coming, and we're all just because, I mean, it's still going to hit us hard, but I think the stress of the people that are left aren't going to be, at least they're going to know, you know. So, but yeah, that's we need to normalize that. So.
Yeah, and so all the difficult things, I definitely don't shy away from in the book, and that's why I call it a meditation on life. Is because again, she's 14 years old. She's looking through her life and she's going through all of these things going, yeah, when I was a puppy, I had my mother. I had this. I was stripped from that. But I also go from the point of view of her mother and father, of what that's like.
Right.
And I don't know if you caught this in there, but there's a part in there where, because there's two pure breeds, right? So that the mother's a purebred golden retriever.
Right. And the father is the purebred chow chow.
Yeah. So the family of the golden retriever is trying to breed her because they want to make money from the puppies.
Right.
It's the chow chow that snuck in the yard. And that's why this child is not, or the puppy is not wanted. But how do they stop this retriever from that ever happening again?
Right.
They build a wall. I'm hoping you get that part.
No, I get
right?
that. Yeah.
So they build a wall, and also the chow chow's home, because they're trying to keep the species apart. So if there's a political thing in there for you, you can see it. If you want it, it's there.
But and that is, I mean, that's brilliant, because, like I said earlier, that's what gives us our strength, our diversity, our differences, that we can learn from each other. I mean, so you grow up in a family, let's say you grew up on a farm.
Right.
Your diet is meat and potatoes, right? You go off to college or you go in the military, and suddenly, oh, wow, Japanese food. Oh, wow, pizza. Oh, wow, tacos. You know, you get that different stuff that you wouldn't normally get if you just stayed within that little, you know, and didn't open up to the diversity that we have here in the world.
Right.
And that's sad. That's truly sad. No wonder we're fucked up.
Yeah, like I mentioned in the book, and you know, we talk as two human beings, that diversity is a good thing. We need to be able to see the goodness in all of that.
Right.
You know, it's very strange. Like when I grew up, obviously I'm Italian, but I'm only half Italian. I'm a quarter Irish, and I'm quarter Spanish, or Cuban, I guess you would say. So my family was very much only one way. It's like Nietzsche said, right? Everything you write, there is no such thing as fiction. Yes. Everything you write comes from something, so it's factual to you.
Right.
So when I'm doing this, parts of me come out, right? Like my grandmother spoke with a brogue. Right? It was as Irish as you can get. You know, then I had my Cuban grandfather, and then on the other side, my grandmother and grandfather were from Italy.
Right.
And so I had 100% of everything all around. So I was very much in tune with each person's nationality. Now, just because they were American, and my grandfather was in the military, by
Right.
the way, he died in Tokyo. He was a merchant Marine. They loved America, but that didn't stop them from loving their nationality
Culture, yeah.
or where they came from. That's super important. I mean, did I grow up eating, cannolis and pizza? Absolutely. On the other side of the family, did I always hear like I had to wear green for St. Patrick's? Of course I did, but it doesn't take
And
away.
it had to be green,
from
not
anything.
orange.
Well, my father wanted me to wear orange, but you're right. I wore green, because of my mom. So so I'm very in tune with all this. I think they should all be celebrated, and then when they come together, even better, right?
Yeah.
Just like I said with music, that's all of the best musicians. I think, like if you were to put together a super group, typically it doesn't work because you get one entity up against one entity, but they're not infusing their talents together. I
Right.
don't think that is really conducive to great art or just great living in general.
Right. Some of the best music comes from groups that never should have been together.
Yeah.
I mean, in the normal course of, if it wasn't for the music, these people would never have what's his name, Brian May from Queen.
Right. Absolutely.
The guy is a physicist.
Yeah.
And you look at him and you think, oh, rock and roller. You don't think, oh, wow, Nobel Prize winning, physicist or anything like that. It's like,
completely different from Freddie Mercury.
And look at his background, So anyway.
Yeah, to add to that, because The Who is my favorite.
Really?
Anybody who knows me for 5 seconds would know that. But
I had a whole bunch of, hi, Joe, who are you?
You could use all of that.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But
So you like The Who?
No, I don't like The Who. They're like my life, right? But Roger Daltrey and Peter Townsend never got along.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, even to this day, when they go on tour, they don't even stay in the same hotel.
Yeah.
Like these guys are like 80. Roger Daltrey's 80. I just saw him in May, by the way, on a concert. And Peter Townsend's 79 years old. They still can't get it together to talk normal. They use separate hotels. They just do their thing on stage, see ya, bye, and they go back. But when they're together, they create this thing that cannot be created when they're as individuals.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not typical, but it is understandable.
Right.
Because they each share that love of the music and what they're doing enough to put their differences aside and collaborate and create something that they love and people love. So
right, and they each push each other in a slightly different direction, to bring out the best. And I think that's the way relationships are too.
Yeah.
By the way, like just
the
romantic relationships and friendship, all of them, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the way it works.
Yeah, and Alan's going to be in town on the 5th of October. He's going to be performing with John Wade out at the Santa Fe.
I saw that.
Yeah.
But if I'm allowed to say it.
Yeah, you can say anything you want.
Of course I want to see Alan, right? I want to see John Wayne. But the thing is, I don't think that when they come here, are they still playing with Styx and Foreigner?
No.
See that?
No, it's just them.
So I'll see him anyway.
Yeah, but I'm going to see Alan. I mean, the Styx and Foreigner would have been like icing on the cake.
Right.
But I still like the cake.
Yes. No, I'm with you. No, I'm going anyway.
I mean, the first time that I saw Alan drumming was when he was playing with Rock of Ages.
Yep, I saw that.
Strip. And my first impression was when he plays the drums, he reminds me of a little 7 or 8 year old kid opening their presents on Christmas morning. I mean, he's got this huge smile on his face and he's just so into the music. And it was just like, that dude is into it. He loves what he does.
Yeah.
So I've always enjoyed watching him play and the groups. And anyway, so sorry, off the subject.
No, it's actually on the subject in a sense, because I agree with you. no matter what you have in your life, if you're super young, middle-aged, whatever, if you can find that meaning and purpose,
Right.
that's the game changer. It changes the whole world.
This is it for me.
Yeah, and you love it, right?
I mean, this is my passion, and the fact that I was lucky enough to, with my background, there is no fucking way in hell I should be doing this. Really. And
Yeah.
and it just, I mean, where we started over at the radio station and all that
Yeah.
shit, and what we've come to, but the people that I get to meet on a daily basis, and the interactions that I have, and what I learned from sitting back there and punching the buttons, and the different training sessions that I've had the opportunity to do, that people go and pay to listen to these people, and I sit back there and they pay me to listen. So it's a passion. It's not, I'm never going to get rich doing this. I don't want to get rich. I just want to be able to keep the doors open. And as long as I can keep the doors open and keep these people coming in, we have one show here called The Gift of Giving. And the show host, every week we bring in the head of various charitable organizations here in Southern Nevada and Northern Nevada. And I've got two teachers that are teaching about the education system and what teachers really, and it's not a rock throwing or anything like that. It's just a very factual, here's what it's like to be a teacher in today's market. And here's what's going on in the education system. And so, in that respect, and like having you in here and being able to, help promote this kind of thing, that's a way of giving back to the community that I've been so fortunate to be a part of, and I mean, shit, I haven't seen you in what, 2 or 3 years?
It's been a while.
We keep kind of crossing paths and stuff like that. But, you walked in the door, no time had passed.
Zero.
And that's what's great about what we're doing or how we're doing it. So,
I mean, I love the fact that you asked me to be on here today, right? It gives this opportunity. But I have to tell you, from the very beginning, it was so amazing to be able to walk into a studio and to do a show.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, it's not like I talk about this out loud to people, but inside I do.
Right.
I always think about this because it was such an amazing thing to walk into a studio and you start to converse with so many people. You learn about different people. You get involved in everybody's stuff in all the shows.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed it. And it's so interesting about how you can have, like, let's say a skill set that might be very minimal sometimes. Right. And somehow the world asks you to do a little bit more.
Right.
And it's funny because I didn't think I could do public speaking at all. But there's no way. But, a bunch of years ago now, as you know, when I was married, she died. I did the eulogy.
Right.
I was like, who can do this? The only person who can do it is me.
Yeah.
And so I had to do it. So that I was like, I don't think I could. But that was the start of it, that I was like, okay, I can do this.
That's where Grief to Relief came from.
Right. And then when
the book and the show.
Yeah. When I brought in the book I was like asking, can somebody interview me? I think it was Bruce at the time.
Oh, Bruce Garrett.
Yeah.
The commander.
He said, do your own show. And I said, absolutely not. Yeah. I can't. It's too stressful for me to think about coming on and doing a show all the time, but maybe just one interview. But as I drove home after I had said no, I thought, I'm so filled with anxiety that I thought, no, this is the exact reason why I have to do it.
Right.
So I turned back around and I said yes. And I started doing it. Now, the first 4 or 5 shows, I had to take a break and I went into the bathroom and I threw up. That's true.
I know, man.
Now you know. And I always had a bunch of songs lined up.
Right.
Because if I got too tongue-tied or scared or just really like flustered, I would say, can we play the next song, please? Right. And I would always have that crutch.
And we should point out that this was radio at the time.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, but this was before you started doing the TV show.
Yeah, but as scary as it was like working out. I started to adapt and I got a little bit better until at some point I felt proud of walking in there saying, okay, I got a good show plan and I think I can do this.
Right.
And I took so much pride in it. And I'm going to thank you again for this. I went to school for a lot of years to do the things I wanted to do, including, being a marriage and family therapist. And I'm not lying here. This is true. I believe I have learned more from running a radio show and doing interviews with people and listening to people who are experts in their field talk, because they're so passionate and they're so knowledgeable about what they do, that I learned more and more from them, much more than I did going to school and just looking at a book. Because now I'm seeing real life.
That's absolutely right on. I have the same experience here every damn day. And that's why I keep doing it. I mean, well, that, and it keeps me out of the bars and strip clubs and casinos, but it is the value of, being able to, spotlight or put a focus on someone or something that they're doing that is beneficial to all of us.
Right.
And, yeah, I know. I saw your development, and especially going from the radio to the TV, and I remember, and I think I told you this sometime back, the first time I met you, and I mean, you're buff. I mean, it doesn't look like it when you get your clothes on, but you were an award-winning what do you call it?
A bodybuilder.
Bodybuilder.
For many years.
Yeah, for many years. And I remember sitting in the first show and thinking, "Oh wow, this guy's not just another dumbass jock. He's got a brain too. That's pretty cool, So, and I think that's why I kind of liked you. I thought, okay, I could be friends with this guy because he's not just, not just some, I can lift everything,
Well, for many years of my life, that was actually a goal of mine, is to be able to, on the one side, right, be, the state bodybuilding champion, all these things. But when I'm having a conversation with somebody, for that conversation never to veer into how much do you lift, that type of thing.
Right.
So it's like somebody could leave and go, is that guy a bodybuilder? I don't know. What does he do? Does he work out?
Yeah.
Like, I would want it to still be a question rather than me saying, hey, guess what? Look what I do, and this is what I am.
Well, and that because that's so common. I know so many of those people.
Yeah, and I hate it.
Yeah.
It makes us look bad, or makes me look bad. I don't like it.
It's like, dude, if you're good, you don't have to tell people you're good.
No, you don't.
Right?
No, it doesn't make sense to do that. I would much rather be outward.
Right.
Like, how are you? What do you do? What makes you smile? What makes you laugh?
Right.
What's your meaning and purpose? Go this way. Not like, hey, by the way, you want to see my trophies?
Yeah.
It's like,
arm wrestle?
Yeah. What's the sense of all that? But see, the radio show really was a whole different aspect of my development. And and I'm serious, as a human being, it made me a better human. Because I had so many different types of personalities that I was, mingling with. It was really great. And, some of those moments, man, unforgettable. Like, remember we went to the Who show together?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I still got pictures of that.
Yeah. I still have the tickets and the badge and stuff. Yeah, that was a great show.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate the hell out of it. But yeah, the people that we get to meet by doing this, people don't realize it takes a lot of work behind the scenes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got to figure out who's your next guest going to be. What happens if they're a no-show? What kind of questions are you going to ask? What kind of background do they have? What kind of information are they going to bring out? What do I need to do to make them comfortable and let them know that it's okay to say whatever the hell they want to say?
Right.
And I don't think people realize that. It's not just like, oh, come on in, sit down. Yeah, hey, blah, blah, blah.
No, there's a lot to it. Again, it changed my life. As a very shy, introverted person, I had an excuse.
There's still some of that in you. I see.
Oh no, I'm sure. But I'm still fighting it.
No. And we all do.
Yeah, but it's like, it gave me an excuse, if you want to say it that way, that I could contact somebody out of the blue. Like, I wouldn't just call a normal, let's say, a business leader in the community and say, hey, what's up? How you doing? Yeah, do that. But when I had the show, I could call and say, I really appreciate the work you're doing. What would you consider coming down for an hour or so and I could interview you? And they would ask me, about what? And I would say, but I need to warn you. What I'm going to do is I want to talk about the worst days of your life.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the days when you didn't think you were going to make it. I want to go that deep. And I think you can help people. And those words, I think I'm working at about a 99.9% rate.
Yeah.
Nobody turns me down. When I asked them, I said, can I tap into your brain so you can help other people?
Right.
What did you do to be so good? They just explode. And it's just, okay, I want to tell you everything.
And it's amazing that those people that you would never think would be willing to do it are willing to do it and willing to share their stories to help other people.
Right.
So I was at for one of our show hosts, I had to go over and there was a convention in town here a couple months back, Days of the Dead, and it was about horror films. And so they asked me to come over. They were going to do some interviews there, and we shot some of the stuff. And so, as you know, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. So we're there, and there was a couple of Star Trek people that were there that had also been in horror movies. And one of them was Robert Picardo, who was played the Doctor, the holographic Doctor in Star Trek Voyager. So while we were on a break, I went over to his table. He's there signing autographs and stuff. And I introduced myself, and I said, I have a small internet TV station here in town, and I would love an opportunity to interview you sometime. And I said, we're a small station. I said, I don't have much of a budget, but I am authorized to spend up to $20 cash. And so he kind of laughed, and and I said, okay, thank you. And I went back to my table, because a bunch of people there. So about 30 minutes later, he comes walking over to where I'm sitting, and he goes, I'm ready for my interview. I said, he goes, I'm on my way to the bathroom. I can give you 3 minutes, and then I have to get back. I said, dude, sit down. Hey, I'll take anything. Even if it's a minute and a half, I'll take it. Sat down. So we spent 25 minutes in that interview.
Oh, man.
And he was so awesome.
Yeah.
And so, it's my first thought was, this guy's going to tell me to go fuck myself. But he wasn't. He was just the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so after the interview, and I'm walking back with him to his table, and I pull out $20 and I hand it to him, and I go, here's your $20. And he goes, I can't take that. I go, dude, the deal's a deal. He goes, no, seriously. I go, I will be offended if you don't take this. That was a deal. We had a deal. It was a contract, a verbal contract, but it was a contract. He goes, okay. I said, I'll tell you what. He goes, I'll take the 20. He says, go over there, pick out 2 pictures, off of the desk. And he was charging $60 a picture.
Wow.
To autograph them. And so he autographed both of them for me.
All right.
But it was like, it gives you the courage, having done what you've done. The point is that it gives you the courage to reach out where normally you wouldn't even think to reach out. They wouldn't even talk to me. Why would they even talk to me? And
yeah, it gives you, I don't want to say power, but it gives you power inside. And I think that
the power
projects.
within, right.
Right. I think that's super important.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Alan Childs a few times here, and it's the same thing. When he was at the gym, I'm like, drummer for David Bowie? He's not going to do a small show like mine. And then all of a sudden he's like, yeah. I'm like, really?
Alan is one of the most down-to-earth people I have ever met.
You don't know until you know.
I mean, you sit and talk to the guy, and the fucking stories he's got.
Yeah.
and the people that he knows. And you just go, dude, why haven't you written a book or a movie or some shit like that with all your, I've been, since I met him, I've been trying to talk him into writing a book, about his experiences.
Oh, of course.
And he goes, nobody wants to hear that. Bullshit. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
So does everybody else. But
yeah.
Anyway. So we're off the track. So I want to get back to the book here.
Yes.
It's when you finished the book, did you feel like I served my purpose? I got everything done here that I wanted to get done? Or did you feel like this is all I can do right now? I've got a plan for more.
If there was a plan for more, there's a way I can do it.
Okay.
but that's not the way I finished the book. I didn't do that on purpose.
Okay.
The way the book finishes is, and I don't want to give it away.
Yeah, please don't.
But it does tie together a bunch of the loose strings, so to
Right.
speak,
Right.
and puts it together at the end the way I feel that it should be.
Okay.
Not to give away too much, but one of the things that, again, going back to the therapy part, I see so many people that blame their parents for things. And to make it a little bit personal, so I take it off the book for a second,
Right.
but because I want people to read the book. I don't want me to.
No, I understand.
But I'll give you an example. So there was a time in my life when I was very young. I was about 5 or 6 years old. My parents were going through a super bad time. They ended up getting divorced. There were times then when I could lean on it if I was going to the wrong therapist at the wrong time. And they'd say, oh, so you come from a home where there's abuse. Oh, your father. Oh, he was abusive. Did he ever say he was sorry? You know, you don't need to forgive him. You know, you need to hold him responsible and accountable for what he did. As a matter of fact, you know, because times have changed.
Therapists like, from the 60s.
Yeah. What can happen now is they say, hey, you know, you may have considered going no contact because, you know, he's a narcissist and he only thought about himself, didn't think about you. And so they could poison your brain.
Right.
Well, I don't really believe in that. I mean, okay, there's a certain percentage, but I don't believe that. You know what sometimes makes people a narcissist, where they think, okay, I can't really see the world for what it is. I only see my part. I'll tell you what does that. Poverty. When you have 2 kids at home that are starving and you have a minimum wage job, it doesn't mean you don't love your kids.
Right.
It means that you're scared to death. You can't get one good night's sleep because you are worried that you're not able to provide. And then you're arguing with your wife because things aren't going well. You have to be able to look at that Wonder Bread, that cheap white bread, and it's like, okay, I had 2 slices for lunch. Okay, I gotta maybe, you know, you gotta sit there and like worry about everything.
Right.
That's not narcissism. That's malignant. That you're going out of your
Exactly.
way to be horrible to people. You're just under a tremendous amount of stress, and you do have to think about yourself, because guess what? A kid who's 5 is not going to go out and pay the bills. You have to.
Right.
So there's a lot in there that therapists today and all these quasi influencers that think that there's something, they're saying things that don't make any sense. They're saying things out of anger, but yet they're so well liked and make so much money that they keep going in that direction. Yep. So to continue with that example, my father did some things in when he was angry, let's say, a little bit violent. But as I trace back over it, my father was 23 years old.
Yeah.
When he was doing some of that. A mere, basically a child.
Yes.
When we look at a 23-year-old now, most of them are still, you know, masturbating, playing video games. Yeah. They're sitting at their parents' house still. They still haven't even have enough money to get an apartment. My father at least had a place, had 2 kids, had a wife, was struggling. And yeah, he did get a little bit out of line. But when I was 5 years old, understand, this is 1970.
Right.
Back then, parenting was also a little bit different too. And so to use a standard, like let's say in the year 2000, 2010, 2020, on a person in 1970 is really not fair at all.
It's a completely, totally different world.
It's not fair.
Our parents were not prepared to teach us how to live in the world that we live in today. And we were not prepared to teach our kids. We were teaching our kids how to live in our world.
Right.
Our parents were teaching us how to live in their world. Their parents were teaching them how to live in their world. And we all have to learn ourselves. Okay, here's the basics of what my parents told me or taught me or wanted me to learn. How do they apply in my life today? What can I use? Exactly. What is irrelevant? You know, it's easy to blame the parents, and in some cases, it's right. But in most cases, man, we all did the best we could.
And that's what I was going to lead to. What I'm saying here is that, okay, so we have this puppy that was stripped from its mother.
Right.
ends up in a shelter could say, okay, what did you do to me? Why am I here? What is this type of thing? And as time goes on, and I emotionally go through that to get to the point when they finally meet again, that it's like, okay, you know, you did the best you could with what you had. And there's this healing that happens from that. And it's the same thing I would say, you know, even like with my parents, like you can't blame people when they were 22.
Right.
If you were to ask my parents what the greatest part of their life was, what their greatest accomplishment was, they would say their children.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that with almost every parents I've met, even the really bad ones.
Yeah.
And so for modern therapy now, to basically say it's your parents' fault, screw them, go no contact, they're all a bunch of narcissists that didn't care about you. I think, I mean, we could use the word like iatrogenic. In other words, the therapist is introducing things into the system that actually is more harmful than not.
Yeah.
They're actually hurting more people than they're helping. And that's my thought about a lot of modern therapy. It's going in that direction. It's not helping people. It's actually hurting them. The more therapy young people are getting, the more depressed, more anxious, more victim-y that they're getting, more
which keeps them coming back.
Yes. And listen, my job, as I see it, because I'm at a certain stage in my life now, is that if I see a client, I'm going to do my best not to see you anymore.
Right.
In other words, not that I don't want to see you,
Right.
but I want you to come in. I want you to get what you need. I want you to be able to help yourself. And then I want you to be able to go and be as happy as you possibly can be with the life that we have.
Right.
And if happiness is not necessarily the goal of what you can do, but be fulfilled to the best of your ability. And so that's part of the book, is to be able to sit there and look at your parents and go, you know, come on, like I make mistakes. They made mistakes. As long as they had their the best interest in mind of the kid and them, and just doing to the best of what they could, why hold it against them?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And if you can't forgive other
It's a
people,
cop-out.
it's a complete cop-out. And the thing is, it goes in circles. If you don't have the ability to forgive somebody else, then why do you think that you deserve to be forgiven?
Exactly. I like that.
And we all deserve to be forgiven.
I want to get back to this. Where can people find the book?
Amazon, just right to Amazon. Cool. Unfortunately, I thought Canine Chronicles was a great title for a book, and it is, except a few other people thought the same thing, and I didn't know it. So
this is by Joseph Perroni.
So you got to use the name to get to it, and the subtitle, which is, go ahead.
The subtitle is The Journey of Stevie Ray, Prince, and Lilith.
Yes.
I love that. All very royal names.
Yes. Did you see the joke on that? I don't want to say it here, but did you see the joke about Prince in there with the name? Did you get to that part?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Did you understand that part?
I'm not sure. I'm going to go back and read it now.
Okay.
Don't give it away.
I won't give it away,
Okay.
But you have to read it though.
Okay. I am. I'm trying to. And like I said, I'm probably about 20 pages in. So every time I try to start reading, my phone rings. So I'm so sick of it.
Well, as you go through it, and there's different things that come up, because there's a lot of psychology in there that's underneath.
Yeah.
If things come up, if you want to talk to me about it again, we can do that.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to have you back, Joe. You know, you're welcome here anytime.
All right.
If you got something that you're doing or promoting or something like that, pick up the phone, give me a call. We'll have you back
I'd love to do a show here or there. And
yeah.
That would be incredible. Like I said, I really appreciate, you give me the opportunity. Not just today, by the way, of course today.
Yeah.
But I mean, for all these years, I mean, I look back at some of those pictures. I'm like, do you know when I did the first show? It was 2012.
I know.
12 years ago.
July 7th. Okay. July 7th of this year. So next month, it will be 12 years ago that I started doing this. I did my first show for Sandy Castell.
Wow. Yeah. You know, one thing I remember too, right in the beginning, I think it was the second show I ever did, third. It was when the Olympics were on. And now the Olympics are going to be this year too.
Wow.
So it's how I think about things in my mind. Like I can trace time by the shows that I was doing. And I remember almost every show. Like I was
I
that
know.
detailed into it. I have notes on it. I have, it's
You want to
great.
blow your mind?
Yes.
I have probably about 97 or 98% of every show that I shot since I started.
Wow.
And there has been times when someone has called up and, hey, John, do you remember back in, 2018 when I did this show with blah, 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 blah? Do you still have that? Let me check. Yeah, I do. So,
While we're on the subject, am I taking
Yes,
up too
please.
much time?
No.
We're doing this
we got a few
live,
minutes
so
left.
I don't want to mess this up. But unfortunately, I'm going to mess it up because I forgot the guy's name. We did an interview, or I did an interview on my show with Heidi, with the person who did the Donald Trump impersonation.
John D. Domenico.
John D. Domenico. That's
Yeah.
right. That's how you pronounce
Yeah.
it. If you go back over that show, hopefully you still
Right.
have it. To me, when I listened to that, the most amazing thing about it was, to my knowledge, nobody knew who he was then, really.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Now I think he beat Carrot Top as the best comedian in Las Vegas.
Listen,
And he was
John,
working for Howard Stern.
Yeah. John has been, and he's been in here half a dozen times.
Wow.
And yeah, he is brilliant. And not only for his Trump impersonation, but Dr. Phil, I mean, just a plethora of characters that he does. And he is so, I think he ought to be on Saturday Night Live if they're doing Trump stuff.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
I haven't seen anybody there that has done it better than he does.
Yeah.
And I love working with him. He's great. He just I got a couple stories I'll tell you after the show.
But that's just one of the many that in the beginning we were able to get before they became something. And you look back and you're like, oh, I was part of that. How cool is that? Like,
I know.
It's so awesome.
And that is, it's like all of the people that we came across, all the people we got a chance to meet. And that's what I said. That's what makes this great is and so much fun is that, like we had Pete Rose in here. We have, just a whole shitload of people. I mean, I have, remember the movie Old Yeller?
Of course.
Remember the little girl in that?
Dog. Yeah, of course.
That little girl, her name is Beverly Washburn. She has done probably 500 movies and TV series and stuff like that. And I become friends with her because somebody brought her in as an interview and we just hit it off. And so she has brought in for me to interview a number of the original Mouseketeers. And so, this is stuff that I grew up watching on Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah.
And to see these people now and to be able to talk to them and it's just so cool.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch. I mean, real quick, I know.
Go ahead.
But Dr. John Gardner was one of them. You probably don't remember. Great show. Gave us a full hour. And if you go back to it, what he says on there, we're discussing about Trump, if he's, about his psychological, if he's in the middle of like a breakdown. And he predicts on there, he says, if he loses the election, and he will, I swear, go back to it. You'll see, it's taped. You got it. He says he will not want to leave office. There is going to be a semi-war.
Yeah.
If he doesn't win. And this guy was prophetic, was he not? Like, I mean, and now he's on all these shows. He's gotten even bigger.
Right.
He was working at St. John, what do you call it? Johns Hopkins.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so he's now he's all over the place.
He knows his shit.
He's on Fox News. He's doing this. He's doing that. But we had him on there. Like it's amazing. The guy who was with Liberace. Remember when that movie came out? Yeah.
Oh God, what was his name? And he ran the museum there.
Yeah, when we had him on, I got him. He was at the Bunny Ranch. That's where he was staying, for a time. And he had just been on Howard Stern's show, but then he was on mine, whatever. Like, and so he gets on there and he starts like doing the whole thing about, oh yeah, like, and he starts talking about his sexuality, like. And I said, listen, man, just stop, please. I said, that's not the kind of show I have. I said, I get that you want to perform for people. I get that. But let's be honest. I said, Liberace was your father. Like he adopted you when you were underage and was having sex with you? What do we
Yeah.
call people like that?
Yeah.
He goes, well, he's a sex offender. I said, yes. I said, so how do you feel with people still hurting you? Like they're making this like this a big thing. Liberace is this awesome man. I'm sure he was a great piano player, but they had this movie out and they weren't really getting to the core
Right.
of the fact that this poor guy was in and out of foster homes all his life, never really loved and cared about. And he started crying on the show. It was the first, and he said, thank you
Yeah.
for that. You're the first person who acknowledged that instead of just made it seem like I was a circus animal for people.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've had some great shows, man. Thank you for giving me the
hey.
opportunity to do these.
That's why we're here, man.
Yeah.
And
Buy the book.
We are going to have to wrap it up, but yeah, I haven't read the whole book. The parts that I have read, I really like, and I am going to finish this book, and I would urge you to check it out, man, because I know Joe, and I guess I know what I'm in for when I'm reading this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? and I kind of like that. And I want to thank you, Joe, for coming in and taking
Thank
the
you.
time. I know you're busy and you're trying to help people, and all you folks out there too. Keep coming back. I appreciate the support that we get for the show and the station. And we got some good things coming up here in the next year. Our newest show called 3. If any of you know Mystic Mona, we have 3 psychics. We have we have an astrologer, we have a medium, and we have a tarot card reader. You call in with your question. They will answer it from their own perspective. And we've done 4 shows already. We got a bunch more coming up, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, thank you all for watching. And remember, if you're going to do it with styles.